to Couch Casual, where today I'm going to be going over my season award predictions for this upcoming NFL season. That's basically the main awards, and I've thrown in some additional ones that we'll get to right away here, actually. So it's the main awards plus plus a few extra. And we're going to start off with one of the extra ones, and that is passing yards. So when it comes to passing yards, looking at the odds, the odds on favorite is Patrick Mahomes, then Stroud, Prescott, Goff, and Tua. Now I went with C.J. Stroud. I picked C.J. Stroud for my passing yard leader for this season. I just think with Dell, Collins, and now you add Stephon Diggs, they also still have they have Schultz still, I believe. I think Stroud, he already had 4,000 plus yards his first year. So I don't see why he can't do that again and maybe come close to a 4,500 season, which I think would easily break the record, lead the league in passing yards, because I see Mahomes getting around the 4,000s, but not quite 4,500. So if Stroud can throw for 4,500, I think he easily would become the passing yard leader for the season. So that is who I'm going to put for passing yards. Next, we have his rushing yards. Now, rushing yards was an interesting one. McCaffrey is the favorite at plus 275 to be the rushing yard leader. And I didn't want to go with him. I tried to do as little of the obvious ones as possible, unless to me it felt so obvious. Jonathan Taylor is second, followed by Saquon, Breece Hall, Derrick Henry. Even Kyren Williams is up there after his great season. I decided to throw. This one might be a curveball. I went with Breece Hall. I'm not necessarily the only person here, but I really think Breece Hall's going to have one of the better seasons of any running back this season, probably behind McCaffrey. He might be the second best running back statistically after this season, and that obviously can come with leading the league in rushing yards. He's fourth on the favorite list to do it. Pretty clearly fourth as well. Relatively ahead of Derrick Henry. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy this full season, they added Tyron Smith as well at left tackle. Breece Hall, he's kind of progressed every year outside of that injury. I don't see why he can't lead the league in rushing yards. And that is my pick. Yes, over McCaffrey, Taylor. I wanted to pick Barkley originally, but I just think, I know Jalen Hurts is more of a touchdown guy, not a yards guy, but I just think that Jalen Hurts he's too good of a passer. I know Aaron Rodgers is too, but his ground game, I feel like, will take away from Saquon in terms of total yards. So that's why I didn't want to put him, but I ultimately ended up picking Breece Hall as the guy I think will lead the league in rushing yards. And last yard leader that we have for this is receiving yards. The favorite right now is Tyreek Hill, very closely followed by CeeDee Lamb. And then you have Ja'Marr Chase, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra, Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, and then Puka is tied with Garrett Wilson. Now, I know he's sixth on the list, but I'm going to say Justin Jefferson leads the league in receiving yards. I know his quarterback play is not very good. It's Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy. Tyreek Hill will probably, fight for 2,000 yards, maybe get like 1,800. CeeDee Lamb. Ja'Marr Chase, I feel like just has too much talent around him. Same with A.J. Brown. I feel like Amon-Ra, I just don't see Amon-Ra being a player that gets close to 2,000. I don't know why. But Jefferson still had 1,000 yards despite being injured. He had bad quarterback play and was injured and still had 1,000 yards. If Sam Darnold and or McCarthy can put together a decent, consistent season and Jefferson plays the whole year, I don't see why he can't get 2,000 yards, which would very obviously make him the lead leader in receiving yards. So that is my pick. I'm going with Justin Jefferson to lead the league in receiving yards. And now we're going to go into some awards. There's a couple more non-awards at the end, but we'll go into awards here next. First is Offensive Rookie of the Year. And my pick is pretty obvious. It's the obvious one. I'm going Caleb Williams. He's the clear-cut favorite right now. Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison, McCarthy, Neighbors, and Worthy are up there as well. But I don't see how... If the Bears make the playoffs, he's obviously going to have the numbers to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. And he's a quarterback. So I don't see a world where... If he just has a good season, I don't see a world where he doesn't win Offensive Rookie of the Year, especially being like the number 1 overall pick. So yes, I went with the obvious pick for Offensive Rookie of the Year. However, for Defensive Rookie of the Year, now the odds say that he's the second favorite, but I feel like people aren't talking about him that much. And my Defensive Rookie of the Year, is going to be Laiatu Latu of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, it says here that he's the second favorite to win, but I just feel like people aren't talking about him. Number 1 is Dallas Turner, who I almost picked. But then you got Quinion Mitchell, Jared Verse, Terrion Arnold, Chop Robinson, who are all in like that same range there, but ahead of them are Turner and Latu. Now I know an edge rusher plays a favorable I think that's like the favorite position for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Even Defensive Player of the Year is edge rushers because they get all the sack numbers. But I like Laiatu Latu going into the draft. He's on a good team. They could make the playoffs. I don't know how much that factors into Defensive Rookie of the Year. But I feel like people aren't talking about it as much despite his odds being high. But my Defensive Rookie of the Year is going to be Laiatu Latu. And now we move on to Offensive Player of the Year. And my pick, if you've been paying attention to any Madden news, you could maybe guess who this is. My Offensive Player of the Year pick is going to be Christian McCaffrey. He's going to get the ball a ton. He could get 2,000 scrimmage yards. He's currently second behind Tyreek Hill. And there's also CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Jefferson, Barkley, Breece Hall. But I just feel like Offensive Player of the Year, you'd think it's not really a quarterback award. They really give the MVP to the quarterback, and then the best non-quarterback they just give Offensive Player of the Year, unless the quarterback had that good of a season. But I just feel like McCaffrey's going to put up the numbers. He's going to be on a good team. It was pretty much him or Tyreek Hill or Justin Jefferson because I had him potentially getting 2,000 yards. And if he were to get 2,000 yards, I feel like he would have to get Offensive Player of the Year. But I'm going to go with McCaffrey just to change it up and not go with Jefferson for 2 of them. So that is who my Offensive Player of the Year is. And then next is Defensive Player of the Year. Now, it's another favorite. Not favorite. He's second right now. Or tied, actually. I'm going to go with Micah Parsons. He's tied right now with TJ Watt. Again, it's really hard to pick between guys like Watt, Parsons, and Bosa. They're all just going to have good seasons regardless. And it's just who has the best of the group. And I think Micah Parsons is going to have a great year as he always does. It was a real toss-up between him and TJ Watt, hence their odds being tied. And I just had a feeling Micah's going to do it this year. He's going to get his Defensive Player of the Year. So that's who I'm going with. I'm going with Micah Parsons as my Defensive Player of the year. Next, we have Comeback Player of the Year. Now, the guys up here, you have Aaron Rodgers coming back from his Achilles, Joe Burrow from his injury, Kirk Cousins from his ACL, Anthony Richardson from his injury, then Russell Wilson just from not playing well, and then Nick Chubb. This is going to be the first award I picked the favorite outside of Offensive Player of the Year, because that was a clear-cut favorite. And I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers as my Comeback Player of the Year. I feel like if he has 4,000 yards, the Jets make the playoffs, they're going to give it. If he has a good season, they're going to give it to Aaron Rodgers. He's, a big name on a big market team. I feel like a guy like Anthony Richardson or Kyler Murray even, maybe even Nick Chubb might have better seasons, but they're just gonna give it to Aaron Rodgers because he's Aaron Rodgers and he plays on the Jets. So that's why I'm predicting that at the end of the season, the award will go to Aaron Rodgers, mainly because of the name and notoriety of Aaron Rodgers. But if I wasn't to go with the favorite, I would probably pick Anthony Richardson, to be honest, because I think him and the Colts, as I mentioned, with Laiatu Latu, could sneak in the playoffs. But I also didn't want to go two of the same team. At least I wanted to try not to do that. So I went with Aaron Rodgers because that's who I actually think will win the award. And next up is Coach of the Year. Now, Coach of the Year is a hard one. They normally give it to a guy who comes in or who had a bad season last year, and then it's like the most improved team award, and they give it to the coach. That tends to be how it goes, because the favorite is Matt Eberflus and Jim Harbaugh, who are coming into not great situations, or Eberflus was coach last year. And then Robert Saleh, if they make the playoffs, I could see him getting it. D'Amico Ryans, the Texans made the playoffs last year, so if they make a much bigger jump, kind of like the Lions did, I could see him getting it. But my Coach of the Year prediction is the guy who is 6th in the favorite list, and that is Raheem Morris, the coach of the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons haven't been to the playoffs in a little bit. I think since 2018, if I'm not mistaken, is the last time they made the playoffs. And if Raheem Morris coaches them to a 10-11 win season, gets them in the playoffs, not just because of the NFC South, I feel like they'll give it to him. Kirk Cousins comes in. I could see him. I think they'll win more like 10 games, but I could definitely see him winning like 12. If they get 12, 13 wins, I don't see why Raheem Morris doesn't win this award. It was him, Eberflus, or Saleh, and I feel like he has the best chance. The Falcons have the best chance of those three teams to have the best record, and that's why I went with Raheem Morris. And then the last award, before I get into team-related predictions, it's just like best team and worst team and Super Bowl winning team, whatever, we have the MVP. Now, the MVP award is tough. The clear favorite is Pat Mahomes, because it's Patrick Mahomes. And I didn't want to pick him because he's a clear favorite. There's also Josh Allen, Stroud, Burrow. Jordan Love is actually tied with Lamar and Purdy on this list. Then Hurts, Aaron Rodgers. I went with Joe Burrow. Now, he was injured last year, but he's got T. Higgins. We'll see if he has T. Higgins, actually. Jamar Chase, I think, can compete for Offensive Player of the Year and receiving yards leader. They have other good pieces, like they drafted Jermaine Burton out of Alabama. They have Yoshivas. I think that's how you pronounce it. I think Burrow is poised, just like Stroud, to throw for potentially 4,500 plus yards. It was down to him or Stroud because I had Stroud leading the league in passing yards, but I feel like Burrow and Stroud will have similar passing yard numbers, but Burrow will beat him in touchdowns, less interceptions, and I think his team will have a better record. So I think that'll give him the edge over Stroud in the MVP. And I didn't want to go with Mahomes So I went with Joe Burrow as my MVP for this season. Now, as I mentioned, there are a few team-related ones. So first up, we have the best team. So I think the team that's going to have the best record this season, I think is going to be the San Francisco 49ers. They'll have, in my predictions, Offensive Player of the Year McCaffrey. You have stars all over the team: Purdy, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, and then that's just on offense. Not to mention all the defensive guys they have. But I think their record is just going to be, I think they could potentially get 14 wins. So I have the Niners with the best record. And then we move on to the worst team of the season, or with the worst record. And I have that going to the New England Patriots. They don't have a lot of talent around Drake May, so I could see them having a Panthers-type season, just not winning because your rookie has nothing around them, at least offensively. And they have to play, obviously, the Bills twice, the Jets twice, the Dolphins twice. So I think the Patriots and Drake May might have a rough start to their new era, and I have them being the worst team. And lastly but not least, we have the Super Bowl winner, and I unfortunately have the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. I don't want to see it. This isn't what I want to see happen. But I just have a strange feeling that they're going to win 3 in a row. It's just such a Chiefs thing to happen. We all didn't want them to win last year. They lose the first game to the Lions, and we're like, oh my God, the Chiefs are actually finally going to not win the Super Bowl or not even be in it. And then they end up winning 2 straight. It's just something that feels like it's going to happen, even if we all don't want it to happen. So that's who I have as the Super Bowl winner. And that will conclude my 2024-25 NFL season award predictions for this upcoming season. Let me know in the comments what you agree with, what you disagree with, and let me know your predictions as well. I want to see who you guys think will win all these awards. Also, make sure you subscribe as well, turn notification bell, and also like the video. Drop a like. That helps the channel a lot. And let me know what other football discussion videos you want to see as we wait for this season to start. But that is it for me. Peace.